On the wedding day, I found my wife's intimate apparel at the entrance of the dressing room. When she pushed the door open, her red lips were smudged, her eyes brimming with tears. I knew who was in the dressing room, the ex she could never forget. I also knew that half an hour later, my bride would run off with her ex. And I, in pursuit of my bride, would be crushed by a large truck. My bride, too, in her ex's arms, would watch me die, unable to close my eyes in peace. Before me, Bai Shinran was still smiling and chatting cheerfully. Yet I remained submerged in the sensation of every bone and muscle in my body being crushed, inch by inch. Pressing my temples, which felt slightly dizzy, I belatedly realized that I seemed to have been reborn. Right now, I should be standing with Bai Shinran at the entrance of the hotel lobby, welcoming the wedding guests. Except, Bai Shinran's mind was already elsewhere. She kept looking down at her phone, her gaze wandering, her expression anxious, clearly distracted. Watching her eyes drift towards the dressing room, and her fingers turned slightly white from clenching, I suddenly calmed down. Before long, as if having made a sudden decision, Bai Shinran looked up, telling me with a somewhat unnatural expression, "My makeup seems to have smudged a bit. I'm going to the dressing room to touch it up." Without waiting for my reply, she lifted the hem of her wedding dress and started walking inside. A pang hit my heart, and I subconsciously grabbed her wrist. "Wait, I'll go with you." Her eager expression froze, and she bit her lip unconsciously. "Silly, I'm just touching on my makeup. Why would you come? Aren't you greeting the guests? Aren't you welcoming relatives?" Was she really just touching up her makeup? I knew the truth deep down, but still forced a smile, the grip on her hand tightening unconsciously. "My wife is the most beautiful even without makeup. The elders will be here soon. Don't we need to change our makeup and look again after greeting the guests anyway? You can touch it up then. There's still time." Bai Shinran looked like she wanted to say something, but held back. Her eyes turned red with anxiety, and feeling the vibration in her hand, she grew increasingly impatient. She glanced quickly at a message on her phone, her face paling. Finally, not even bothering with an explanation, she forcefully wrenched her hand free and ran off. I lowered my head, staring at the mirror-like polished marble floor of the five-star hotel, a silent, bitter smile on my face. I knew that message was from her unforgettable ex-boyfriend. They would be in the dressing room next to our ceremony hall, pouring out their hearts to each other, kissing passionately, unable to part. And my wife, whose wedding hadn't even begun, would be so lost in the moment that she'd leave her intimate apparel behind at the door. In my past life, I would have broken down, filled with disbelief. I would have demanded to know why. This time, I just wanted to let them be. Scumbag man, scumbag woman. Blessings upon them. May they be locked together forever. It took me 3 years to win Bai Shinran over. I first saw her at a 7-Eleven in the early morning. She was the cashier, being scolded by an older woman pointing a finger right at her nose. "Which eye of yours saw me open this drink? And you want me to pay? Just a poor worker. Are you trying to make me call your boss out?" Tears welled in her round, almond-shaped eyes, her face flushed crimson. Her voice was faint, yet her attitude was firm. "I saw you. You were the one who opened this drink." The woman glanced at the surveillance camera. There was an obvious blind spot near the beverage section. Growing bolder, her voice rose another notch. "Do you have proof? Let me tell you, slander has legal consequences, understand? I'm going to file a complaint against you." Seeing the woman's finger about to poke her nose, I stepped in front of her without a second thought, waving my phone at the woman. "Ma'am, I happen to be filming a vlog just now, and I caught the moment you twisted open the drink cap and drank half of it. I suggest you think carefully before you speak again." The woman's face flushed red and pale in turns for a moment. Finally, she tossed 5 yuan onto the counter and stormed out, cursing under her breath. She lowered her head, wiped her tears, and gave me a faint smile that revealed dimples. "Thank you. My name is Bai Shinran. Let me treat you to something." The moment I saw her smile, I admit, I was utterly captivated. Gradually, we became familiar. I pursued her for 3 whole years before she finally relented, and our relationship had always seemed stable. This illusion persisted until just now, the moment before she ran off to the dressing room. She had been honest with me from the beginning, telling me her previous relationship ended due to many external factors. I didn't mind her past. In fact, it made me feel more protective of her. Throughout our relationship, I gave her all my patience, tenderness, and attention to detail. Over these 5 years, watching the smiles on her face grow more frequent, seeing the melancholy in her eyes replaced by coquettishness and dependence, filled my heart with satisfaction. Until this very moment. Half an hour before the wedding, I watched her abandon me without a backward glance, rushing eagerly towards the dressing room. And at this moment, I too made my decision. I calmly watched by Shinran run into the dressing room. The door wasn't fully closed, and through the crack, I could see her sobbing softly in a man's arms. Even though I had made my decision, my heart still sank inch by inch. Had I truly never realized that marrying me would make her feel so wronged and miserable? The pair clung tightly to each other, lost in their emotions. A piece of her intimate apparel fell near the doorway. I didn't pick it up. Instead, I quietly turned and walked away. 20 minutes later, Shinran returned to the lobby to find me, the tip of her nose slightly red. I've touched up my makeup. I looked deeply at the faint trace of red at the corner of her eye and nodded noncommittally. She, however, seemed a bit unsure of herself. Sliding her fingers between mine, she clasped our hands together before her, looking at me earnestly. "Jingsu, I love you." Her clear, almond eyes held that familiar attachment. Only, it no longer stirred any ripples within my heart. I lowered my eyes, smiling, and using the gesture of greeting guests, gently freed my hand. She seemed to sense something, but didn't press further, merely trailing beside me like a little shadow, pouting coquettishly. "Jingsu, what's wrong? You seem a bit strange. Are you hiding something from me?" I absently averted my gaze. "It's nothing. I prepared a surprise gift for you. You'll find out when the ceremony begins." She relaxed slightly, her eyes curving into crescents as she offered me a sweet smile. And 10 minutes later, at the wedding venue, the officiant asked, "Mr. Chung-Soo, the groom, do you take Miss Shinran to be your lawfully wedded wife, to respect her, cherish her for richer or for poorer, in sickness and in health, in good times and bad? Will you care for her forever? Do you?" Meeting Shinran's almost pleading gaze, I smiled, lowered my eyes, and enunciating each word clearly, gently yet firmly replied, "I do not." I watched calmly as the blissful smile on her face abruptly froze, the color draining away inch by inch, leaving her swaying precariously under the spotlights. An uproar erupted among the guests. Shinran's father and brother slammed their hands on the table and shot up, only to be forcefully held down by a few friends I had briefed beforehand. Meanwhile, several groomsmen pushed Shun A's onto the stage, firmly gripping his shoulders as he seemed poised to struggle. Under Shinran's panicked gaze, I offered her a faint smile. "Shinran, your groom. Is it me, is he?" Amidst the rising murmurs of discussion, I took the microphone from the officiant and addressed the guests below. "My apologies for subjecting everyone to this farce. This man is a bride's ex-boyfriend, though, judging by their lingering reluctance to part, perhaps I'm the one who should be making an exit. Shinran, there's no need for you to sneak off to meet him before the wedding, pouring out your hearts to each other. Even less need to put on such a show of being heartbroken and inseparable in front of him. During these 5 years we've been together, whatever you desired, I found a way to place it in your hands. Have I ever wronged you in any way? I believe I have not. Even this wedding today, I can gift it to you." Shinran trembled violently, barely able to stand. Steeling herself, she reached for my hand, her face streaked with tears. "Chung-Soo, it's not what you think. I just wasn't thinking straight for a moment. I wanted to say a proper goodbye to him. You are in my heart. I truly want to marry you, to spend my life with you. Aren't you the one who always indulges me the most? You said I could be completely unrestrained with you, that I could act brazenly knowing you'd forgive me, that I could just be myself, that you would tolerate anything I did. I know I was wrong this time. Please forgive me, okay?" I looked indifferently at her face, filled with sorrow and helplessness, feeling a calmness within me that was almost surprising even to myself. You see, the old me could never bear to see Shinran shed a single tear. Even the slightest reddening of her eyes would send me into a panic, making me want to offer her my very heart. So, this is what she looks like when she cries. It seems it's not such a big deal after all. Catching sight of Shun A's flushed face and clenched jaw in my peripheral vision, I smiled faintly and gently leaned down to wipe the tears from her face. A flicker of hope ignited in Shinran's eyes as she gazed at me through her tears. She always knew how to soften my heart. After 5 years together, I understood her thoughts perhaps even better than she did herself. She was genuinely scared and genuinely regretful. I believe that when she left me to enter that dressing room, she hadn't truly intended to leave me. Just as I believe that in the previous life, when she subconsciously pushed me under the wheels of that car, she hadn't realized the consequences. But, so what? Subconscious reactions are the most revealing. I'm someone who has already died once. Surely I should have learned something from that death. What's done cannot be undone. My Chung-su's sincere heart isn't that worthless. I scoffed lightly, looking at her. By Shinran, I'm no fool. Did you really think I didn't notice what you two were doing in the dressing room just now? I could satisfy all your wishes, tolerate all your tempers. In all our arguments, I was the one who backed down. I didn't mind. Your parents suggested arranging a mid-level position for your brother in my company after his graduation. I agreed, despite the pressure from my partners. But Shinran, there was one thing, and I told you many times. I cannot tolerate any wandering eyes or lack of loyalty. We are adults. In matters of the heart, you can't have your cake and eat it too. From today onwards, I will no longer be the one who favors you. At my signal, several groomsmen deftly fitted the groom's suit onto Shun's. Meanwhile, I tilted my head slightly, slowly curling my lips into a smile at him. Mr. Shun's, do you take Miss by Shinran to be your lawfully wedded wife, to respect her, cherish her for richer or poorer, in sickness and in health, in good times and bad? Will you care for her forever? Will you? Shun-A's angrily clenched his jaw, glaring daggers at me. You lunatic, pervert, madman. Shinran and I just met before the wedding. We didn't do anything scandalous. Is that illegal? It's your own incompetence that you couldn't make Shinran forget me completely after all this time. A single text message from me was enough to make her sneak out of her own wedding. No matter how mad you get, you're nothing but a stray dog. But I calmly rolled up the sleeves of my white shirt. Well said, but not what I wanted to hear. The next second, I landed a heavy punch squarely on his face. Shin-A's head snapped to the side from the impact, and he was stunned for a full 3 seconds. I picked up the microphone again, holding it close to his lips, my voice composed and mild. I'll ask again, Mr. Shin-A's, do you take Miss by Shinran to be your lawfully wedded wife, to respect her, cherish her for richer or poorer, in sickness and in health, in good times and bad? Will you care for her forever? Shin-A's eyes were so bloodshot, they looked ready to bleed. He let out a roar from his throat, struggled violently free from the groomsman's hold, snatched a champagne bottle from the stage, and swung it towards my head. But I sidestepped, caught his hand, struck his chest with an elbow, and sent him crashing hard onto the floor with a shoulder throw. Under the harsh glare of the spotlights, amidst the jeers and cheers from the hall, Shun-A's was repeatedly beaten by me, utterly unable to fight back. The 5th time I asked him, 2 barely audible words escaped weakly from his throat. I do. I straightened my slightly wrinkled shirt and offered by Shinran a faint smile. Miss Bai, the groom is now in place. I wish you both a long and happy life together, and may you soon have children. Consider this wedding banquet my gift to you. By now, Bai Shinran's hands were trembling uncontrollably. She didn't spare Shun-A's beside her even a glance, just lunged forward wretchedly, trying to grab my hand. Chung-Su, I was wrong. I was truly wrong. Please forgive me. I was just momentarily foolish. Why did you have to take it this far? You really don't want me anymore. But I gently brushed her trembling hand away. I'm not the cruel one here, leaving the utter mess behind me. Amidst by Shinran's finally unrestrained sobs, I departed with my groomsmen friends. A few minutes later, I heard a sharp slap from behind, followed by Father Bai's furious roar. Look what you've done. Bai Shinran's crying stopped abruptly, and she fell silent instead. I could almost feel her pleading gaze fixed on my back. Indeed, during our 5 years together, I had fulfilled countless unreasonable demand from Father Bai on her behalf. Because of this, she had also gained more importance within her family, so much so that she forgot. The affection she received from her family wasn't as pure as she thought. I sighed softly and turned back. Bai Shinran, tears streaming down her face, clutched her cheek, looking at me stubbornly yet full of hope, her voice trembling. Chunks. I watched her in silence. Flashes of memories flickered through my mind. Her charming smile, the little face scrunched up when she accidentally ate a sour tangerine, the dependence and closeness in her eyes when she looked at me, and the back of her figure as she unhesitatingly abandoned me, running out of the hotel. After a long moment, I gave her a smile of release. Goodbye. Accompanied by my best friends, I calmly walked out of the banquet hall, apologized to the departing guests, and arranged for them to have dinner at the high-end buffet restaurant next door. My parents just sighed and patted my shoulder. Bai Shinran was never the right match for you, after all. I lowered my eyes slightly, hiding the faint warmth welling up in them. Dad, Mom, your son has brought shame upon you. It doesn't matter. As long as you're happy and healthy, nothing else is important. My best friend put his arm around my shoulder, unwilling to let it go. Brother Chung, you spent hundreds of thousands on this family. Are you just letting them off like this? But I pushed my glasses up and smiled gently. Bai Xinran and I are finished. There's no need for me to do anything more. What's coming will come. Bai Xinran was spoiled rotten by me, and her insatiably greedy family had long developed expensive tastes, thanks to me. All that's needed is to retract the benefits that never truly belonged to them. As for the rest, I just need to sit back and watch the show. I requested a month's leave from my partners and began a month-long tour of Europe with my parents, partly to clear my head and partly to avoid the inevitable harassment from that family. A 1 million betrothal gift, a high-paying job, a newly handed-over Riverview apartment, plus various other benefits. Knowing Shun A's as I do, he could never afford all that. Bai Xinran didn't contact me again, but her father and brother nearly blew up my phone with calls. Seeing that I consistently ignored their calls, they started sending long-winded text messages. From emotional appeals and reasoning to a mix of carrot-and-stick tactics laced with threats, I never knew this family had such a way with words. I calmly exited the WeChat interface, turned to my parents with a smile, and said, "Next stop, let's go ride hot air balloons in Cappadocia." They naturally had no objections. My close friends back home, however, kept me steadily informed about Bai Xinran and her family situation. Bai Xinran seemed to have been downcast for a long time. Her father and brother frantically pressured her to beg for my forgiveness and reconcile, but she stubbornly held out, not bothering me with a single word. Perhaps they thought this would appease my anger. There was no need for me to explain excessively that I didn't care. I simply accepted their goodwill with gratitude. After more than half a month, the family finally quieted down. Had they finally given up hope, or were they hatching a new plan? I didn't care, merely enjoying the peace and quiet. Only, when I returned home with my parents and saw my villa in utter chaos, and Bai Xinran's family brazenly installed themselves inside as if they owned the place, I fell silent. Having not seen her for a month, Bai Xinran seemed to have lost a lot of weight. Even her slightly plump cheeks were sunken, her chin pointed. In contrast, her belly was slightly protruding. Bai Fu, Bai Jiangwo, sprawled on the sofa, gulped down some beer, and let out a drunken belch, his eyes hazy. Son-in-law, aren't you being unfair? Getting my daughter pregnant, and now you just want to pat your ass and walk away. And causing such a scene at the wedding, shouldn't you compensate us handsomely for emotional distress? Hick, of course, family doesn't talk like outsiders. It's true my daughter got entangled with others. I'm also a reasonable man. You've vented your anger. My daughter's belly is big. She knows she was wrong. You two hurry up and get the marriage certificate. I won't ask for much of the bride price, just the same as before. Bai Xinran's brother, Bai Jun, also sidled up shamelessly. Brother-in-law, didn't Apple release a new model? You see. But I calmly looked at Bai Xinran's evasive gaze. Xinran, this child, how many months along is it? Bai Xinran lowered her head, her slender white fingers twisting together. 4 months. I fell silent for a moment, my gaze sweeping over her arm, which bore dark red scars. My voice was calm. Is that so? In that case, you can stay here for now. We'll discuss everything else after the child is born. I won't shirk my responsibilities. Bai Xinran bit her lips silent. Bai Jiangwo had already slapped my shoulder heavily, his tone laced with threat. I say, son-in-law, what do you mean by that? Could the child in my daughter's belly not be yours? Are you trying to deny it? Waiting until the child is born? You don't want my precious daughter to give birth out of wedlock, do you? Our Bai family has a reputation to uphold. We can't afford to lose face like this. A sharp pain exploded on my shoulder, but I just stared at Bai Xinran's pale face, and after a long moment, gave a slight smile. 5 million. When the child is born, I will supplement the bride price with 5 million yuan. The other conditions remain as previously discussed. Bai Jiangwo's breathing grew heavier. Just as he recovered and was about to press further relentlessly, he stepped on a beer bottle, staggered, and fell back onto the sofa. I turned and left. In the following days, Bai Xinran seemed to regain her spirits and began to focus peacefully on her pregnancy. She was also trying hard to mend the relationship between us. Almost every day, she would send me old photos of us, occasionally with simple captions. Even I didn't know she had secretly captured so many details of our time together. The coffee we drank while watching the night view at the old bund. The crown of my head as I knelt to tie her shoelaces. My focused profile while watching a movie. Our intertwined fingers reflected in a street-side, floor-to-ceiling window. The sign of the convenience store where we first met. The Tonghalu on a winter street. And the look on my face, slightly awkward, yet helplessly tolerant, as she held an incredibly sour skewer to my lips. I lowered my gaze, looking at the familiar photos on my phone, lips slightly pursed, feeling the throbbing pain starting again at my temples. Just then, the front desk called, her voice hesitant. Mr. By your ex. Miss by Shinran insists on coming up. She says she personally made soup for you. What should I? I selected the photo on the screen and saved it. Call her a car, send her back. I still have work to do here. I won't come down to see her. About 10 minutes later, the front desk called back to inform me that Bai Shinran had left, but insisted on leaving the thermos flask. I glanced at the message she had sent me on my phone. Chung-Soo, this is the Chima pigeon soup. I woke up early to stew for you for 3 hours. Your headaches tend to act up when the weather turns cold. Remember to drink it. I'm heading back first. I turn my head to look at the overcast sky outside, threatening rain, and clench my fist slightly. Half an hour later, the heavens opened up, and heavy rain began to fall. I was escorting my partner's younger sister back to her consulting room. Just as I was holding the umbrella, preparing to help her into the car, Bai Shinran suddenly dashed out from a corner in the rain, her eyes filled with shock and disbelief. Chung-Soo, who is she? I ignored Bai Shinran, merely gesturing gently for the young woman to get into the car, then carefully tucked in the hem of her dress that was dangling outside. Be careful on the road. The young woman glanced pointedly at Bai Shinran. Is that her? I smiled without speaking. The young woman then nodded gently at Bai Shinran. Hello, you must be Senior Cheng's ex-girlfriend, Miss Bai Shinran. I'm Chu Ching. I've heard so much about you. The color drained inch by inch from Bai Shinran's face. Even her lips turned pale. You too. Chu Ching playfully wagged a finger at her. Don't get the wrong idea. Senior Chung and I are just ordinary friends, not the kind of relationship you're thinking of. Bai Shinran relaxed slightly, but Chu Ching added with a smile, though I did write Senior Chung several love letters back in university. Unfortunately, Senior Chung was ruthless and rejected them all. I glanced somewhat helplessly at Chu Ching's lovely profile. How old are you now? Still spouting nonsense everywhere. All right, business is concluded. You should head back. See you next time. As the car drove away, Bai Shinran gripped my arm tightly, madness in her eyes. Who is she? Chung-Soo, who is she? How could you change your heart so quickly? I just calmly push her back under the eaves. Chu Ching, and I don't have the kind of relationship you're thinking of. And I haven't changed my heart. You're pregnant. It's not advisable for you to be out in the rain or get emotional. Bai Shinran clutched the hem of her loose dress tightly, her eyes glistening with tears. Chung-Soo, I don't feel well, can you? Take me home. I lowered my eyes, looking at her fingertips, white from the force of her grip. My voice was calm. I will call an ambulance for you. If possible, I'll have Shanae come get you. You really should not go back to that house anymore. But Bai Shinran couldn't hear anything anymore. She lowered her head and remained silent for a long time, so long I thought she wouldn't respond. Then, suddenly, she gave me a pale smile. I understand. I was wrong first. I won't make things difficult for you anymore. But I still want to do something for you. When the baby is born safely, I will take the child and leave, far away. I won't bother you again. But before that, please give me time. Let me slowly withdraw from this relationship. She gently took my hand, her face pleading. Didn't you used to love the soup I made the most? I just want to bring you soup for 6 more months. Is that okay? This might be the only thing I can do for you in the time remaining. A teardrop trembled on her eyelashes, threatening to fall, but not quite falling. Amidst the patter of the rain, I heard my own detached and calm voice. All right. Bai Shinran did not break her word. For the next 2 months, she sent no more messages to disturb me, merely arriving at the company on time each day to deliver a thermos of restorative gastrodia soup and taking the empty thermos back just as punctually. Even the young woman at the front desk began to feel sympathetic, starting to probe my attitude towards Bai Shinran in roundabout ways. I even overheard her secretly complaining to a colleague. CEO Bai is too hard-hearted. When they were dating, he treated her like a treasure, but now he says he won't go back, and that's final. I feel so sorry for Bai Shinran, just watching. She just made a mistake out of confusion, but she shouldn't have to pay such a heavy price. But I lowered my gaze to a WeChat message from Bai Shinran, the first in months. Chung-Soo, about registering the baby's birth, I want to talk to you. Can you come over for dinner tonight? I replied with an okay. That evening, Bai Shinran personally cooked a sumptuous meal, almost entirely composed of my favorite dishes. Her figure had already grown quite heavy. She wore a loose maternity dress, her hair tied in a bun, her eyes still holding the same clean, innocent charm as when we first met. She had sent Bai Jiangwo and Bai Jun away. We ate the meal in peace. Bai Shinran solicitously served me food, chattering about trivial matters from the past few months, her demeanor still revealing dependence and intimacy. And I listened quietly, as if nothing had ever happened. After dinner, she personally poured me a glass of liqueur. "This is your favorite red wine. It'll help you sleep better tonight." I gently swirled the glass, inhaling the rich bouquet, my gaze fixed on by Shinran's face. She, however, shifted her eyes away somewhat uncomfortably, looking down at the flickering candlelight on the table. I placed the wine glass on the table and gave her a gentle smile. "Thank you for your hospitality." Then, raising my voice slightly towards the door, "You can come in now." Under by Shinran's slightly uneasy and confused gaze, several police officers in uniform opened the door and entered. "Ms. Bai, we suspect you of attempting to poison Mr. Chung-Soo, and you're also implicated in a fatal accident from 3 years ago. Please come with us to cooperate with the investigation." Bai Shinran's eyes widened in disbelief. She clutched her stomach with both hands, her face deathly pale. I stood up and smiled gently at her. "Thank you for your care these past 3 years. Bai Shinran. No, I should call you Bai Xinyuan. You look very much like your sister. It's just, you're not her, after all. I remember everything now. Bai Shinran died 3 years ago. How could I have forgotten?" Bai Shinran. No. Bai Xinyuan crumpled bonelessly to the floor. It was as if her last support had vanished, leaving her slumped there, her face utterly devoid of expression. I remembered. I hadn't been reborn. The one who died in the car accident wasn't me, but my beloved girlfriend Bai Shinran. At that moment, I was holding the diamond ring I had prepared, my heart full of joy and trepidation, ready to propose to Shinran. But on her way to meet me, Shinran saw her sister, Bai Xinyuan, arguing with her boyfriend, Shinaz, in a dressing room. Shinran rushed forward anxiously to mediate, but the two ran out, still arguing. In the next instant, an out-of-control car hurtled towards them. In the midst of the chaos, Bai Xinyuan instinctively shoved Bai Shinran forcefully towards the car's wheels. And I stood 5 meters away, witnessing the entire event. In the blank confusion of my mind, I saw vast amounts of blood gush out, as if from a burst water bag, staining the concrete red, staining the red velvet ring box in my hand red. Bai Shinyan, her back to me, frantically checked Shun A's over with a look of concern and panic. "Are you okay? Did any debris hit you?" That car just now was really too. Before she could finish, she seemed to realize something, slowly, stiffly turning her head, her gaze falling upon Bai Shinran's blood-soaked body. The next second, the man firmly pulled her into his embrace, planting a kiss on the crown of her head. Don't look." They clung together intimately, and I, like a broken marionette, knelt amidst the spreading blood, holding Bai Shinran's cooling, broken body, losing consciousness in the overwhelming, catastrophic grief. It was as if a part of me had died with her. When I regained consciousness, plagued by severe post-traumatic stress disorder, my memories were dislocated and fragmented. Because my subconscious couldn't accept Bai Shinran's death, waking up in the hospital room, I mistook Bai Xinyuan for Bai Shinran. They were sisters, after all. Though their personalities were vastly different, their faces bore an 80% resemblance. I forgot the proposal, forgot the car crash, forgot she had a sister, forgot so many things. And Father Bai, already dissatisfied with Shun A's family background, had a sudden idea. How Bai Xinyuan impersonate Bai Shinran, date me, and proceed towards marriage. Caught in the elaborate web of lies they spun, and Bai Xinyuan's deliberate imitation, I projected all my love for Bai Shinran onto Bai Xinyuan without reservation. In my eyes, she was my beloved, until the wedding approached, and the residual headaches grew increasingly severe. On the wedding day, I remembered the car crash that killed Bai Shinran. Only, I had mistaken myself for Bai Shinran. Bai Jiangwo, Bai Xinyuan, and Bai Jun were all arrested by the police. Due to her pregnancy, Bai Xinyuan was released on bail pending trial. Bai Jiangwo and Bai Jun were not so fortunate. I provided the police with evidence of their conspiracy to poison me. The restorative soup Bai Xinyuan brought me daily tested positive for heavy water, colorless, odorless, but capable of causing chronic liver and kidney damage. The red wine she poured for me also tested positive for a neurotoxin that accelerates liver and kidney failure. Bai Jiangwo and Bai Jun were the masterminds who supplied the toxins. They will all face the legal consequences they deserve. Meanwhile, Bai Xinyuan, through her lawyer, sent word that she was willing to turn state's witness, on the condition that she could see me one last time. I agreed. Though only a few days had passed, Bai Xinyuan seemed drained of all vitality. Her chin was sharp, making her belly seem startlingly large by contrast. Noticing my gaze fall on her abdomen, she looked down, gently stroking her belly, her voice as soft as a whisper. When did you know this child wasn't yours? I calmly poured her a glass of water. From the beginning, when you told me you were 4 months pregnant. Under her slightly surprised gaze, I curved my lips into a faint smile. 4 months ago, I was in Milan, Italy, attending an investment and trade forum for a week. Before that, my partner and I were in Silicon Valley for 2 weeks, attending an entrepreneurs forum and researching the latest trends in AI and venture capital. And for another week, because my partner had sudden appendicitis at a banquet, I stayed with him in a U.S. hospital for the entire week. I was away for the whole month. You threw a huge tantrum about it. After I came back, I made breakfast for you for a whole month before you finally calmed down. Don't you remember? Bai Xingyuan didn't answer, just managed a somewhat dazed, bitter smile. I pushed a glass of water towards her. Besides, Shanae found me and told me everything. It was the very day Bai Xingyuan had told me she was pregnant. I was stopped on the roadside by a vaguely familiar figure. It was Shanae's. He was unshaven, his hair messy, his eyes shot with blood. I glanced at him coolly, preparing to walk around him. But he grabbed my shoulder. The child in her belly is mine. I curved my lips slightly, so? He clutched his head in anguish. We got back in touch at the class reunion 4 months ago. I didn't want to go initially, but the class monitor insisted, and I don't know what possessed me, but I wanted to see her, see how she was doing. But the moment I saw her, I realized I still couldn't forget her. At the reunion, she announced she was getting married. I drank a lot. She came to comfort me, and then I know a part of her heart still lingers on our past, but most of her heart is occupied by you. I furrowed my brows slightly, having lost all patience with his incoherent rambling. I apathetically brushed his hand away. So, you're here to plead her case? Then why bother telling me you're the child's real father? He stared straight at me, a hint of cornered desperation flashing in his eyes. Bai Jiangwo and the others looked down on me completely. They'd rather let her perpetuate this mistake, using the child as leverage against you. Don't let them deceive you. Meanwhile, I leisurely brushed off some imaginary dust from my shoulder. Mr. Shun, it's that family clinging to me now. They disdain the meager benefits they could squeeze from you, firmly believing I am their ideal son-in-law. Since you pride yourself on your deep affection, is the only solution you could devise to seek out your former rival in love, hoping he'll be merciful and grant you your relationship. Haven't you come to the wrong person? Ignoring the utterly devastated Shanae, I turned and left. What he didn't know was that as he roared out the words, most of her heart is occupied by you. The Bai family's plotting was being relayed into my in-ear monitor. My villa is equipped with the latest security system available. While Bai Xingyuan managed to gain entry using a fingerprint key I hadn't yet deleted, their every word and action were under my surveillance. From the first day they entered the villa, my phone received alerts from the security system. I knew Bai Jiangwo had racked up massive gambling debts again and was desperate for me to pay them off. I knew Bai Jun had fought someone in a nightclub and inadvertently severed their tendons, facing imprisonment if he couldn't come up with enough compensation for a private settlement. I also knew Bai Xingyuan had sold off all the gifts I'd given her, yet still couldn't cover the holes dug by her father and brother. And in my ear, Bai's father was speaking to Bai Xingyuan in a tone mixing threats and inducements. That Chengsu fellow isn't easy to fool. Once the child is born, he'll almost certainly get a paternity test, and everything will be exposed then. Yin, that boy used to be utterly captivated by you. There's no reason for him to suddenly be so heartless. Coax him more. You must get the marriage certificate before the child is born. I've already picked out a large accidental death insurance policy. As soon as you're officially registered, buy this policy for Chengsu. Then, living under the same roof, if he meets with some accident and dies young, you and the child will be the primary heirs to his estate. Add the huge insurance payout, and your brother and I will be set up, not just for now, but for life. I subconsciously rubbed my fingers together, waiting for Bai Xingyuan's reply. On the other end, Bai Xingyuan remained silent for a long moment before finally giving an almost inaudible It felt like a stone had finally dropped. I closed my eyes gently and let out a low chuckle. An expression caught between tears and laughter appeared on Bai Xingyuan's face. You knew from the very beginning that when I brought you soup, I had ulterior motives. I nodded. I also knew that because you couldn't get me to come back to you, you decided to abandon the marriage certificate plan and intended to take my life first, then inherit the estate once the child was born. Bai Xingyuan was silent for a long time. Then she said, Chengsu, whether you believe me or not, I I never intended to harm you. When you were dating my sister, I envied her so much. I envied her for finding such a considerate and perfect boyfriend. I envied how you only ever looked at her with such gentle eyes. I envied why my own boyfriend was so mediocre and ordinary. Back then, when you woke up in the hospital room and looked at me with those gentle, loving eyes, I simply couldn't bring myself to say I wasn't by Shinran. My dad and brother certainly had designs on you, but I truly fell in love with you. This child was just an accident. I owe Shanae something. I did have feelings for him once, but after meeting you, I realized my feelings for him were a joke, like comparing the glow of a firefly to the sun and moon. Chung-Soo, you are the only one I've ever truly loved. But why are you so cruel? I only met him secretly once before the wedding. I was just resentful that in front of you, I could only ever pretend to be my sister, while only in front of him could I be by Xinyan. But I truly wanted to spend my life with you. Even if I could never use my own name for my entire life, I was willing. Under my calm and indifferent gaze, her growing agitation suddenly subsided. Her voice became gentle, like sunlight on a winter's day. Jingsu, I just loved you too much. Since I couldn't have you then, possessing you completely isn't so bad either, is it? I closed my eyes and stood up. If there's nothing else to say, I'll take my leave. But Bai Xin Yuan suddenly grabbed my hand, weaving her cold fingers between mine, gripping tightly. Her gaze was stubborn, yet pleading. Chung-Soo, during our time together, was there ever a day, even a single moment, when you were looking at me, the person and not this face, deliberately mimicking my sister's expressions and mannerisms? I lowered my gaze to the last flicker of light in her eyes, like a flame about to be extinguished, and slowly pried her fingers open. I heard my own voice, steady, without a ripple of emotion, say no. The air seemed to freeze for an instant. Bai Xinyuan's lips trembled, but no sound came out. The light in her eyes, however, seemed to have turned completely to ash. Based on Bai Xinyuan's testimony, Bai Jiangwo and Bai Jun were convicted of attempted poisoning and sentenced to 8 years in prison. On the day the verdict was delivered, Bai Xinyuan endured a difficult labor in the hospital for a full day and night, finally giving birth to a baby boy. Shanae took her away. As for whether she's doing well or not, I don't care. The unattainable always stirs unrest. The favored are fearless, taking love for granted. When the unattainable is attained, when the favored lose their favor, relying on those faint memories from their youth, how far can their path together truly go? And I came to Bai Shinran's grave, bringing her a bouquet of the oil-painting peonies she loved most in life. It was deep winter. The north wind was biting, the air crisp and cold. I sat leaning against her cold tombstone, just like before, murmuring to her about everything that had happened over the years. Shinran, I'm sorry it took me so long to remember you. You must have waited a long time. I was a coward, weaving for myself the illusion that you hadn't died, which gave others the opportunity to take advantage. Do you remember Chu Qing? She's my business partner's sister, and she has a doctorate in psychology. Thankfully, with her help, though it took a lot of time and a hefty consultation fee, I finally remembered everything. Was it you, reminding me from the great beyond? That's why, before the wedding, I remembered the scene of your car accident, though not very accurately. Bai Xinyan asked me if, during those 3 years she spent impersonating you, I ever fell in love with her. Honestly, I'm not quite sure. But when everything is built on a foundation of lies, pursuing the question of some minute shred of truth is meaningless in itself, isn't it? Apart from the sound of the wind, the world between heaven and earth was silent. As I breathed, a snowflake landed in the palm of my hand. This was the first snow of the winter. After a long moment, I stood up, brushed the white snow from my shoulders, and carefully wiped the snow off the tombstone. Should we share the same snowfall someday, it could be said we grew old together in this life. Looking at Bai Shinran's radiant smile in the photograph, I curved my lips slightly. Shinran, thank you. I too must keep moving forward.